Tonight on News 5 Live, an investigation is underway into the death of 4 BDF soldiers killed in the helicopter that crashed into the Western Lagoon. A security officer and a cashier were killed while exiting a supermarket in San Ignacio. A man is gunned down on Police Street, and the National Party Council of the UDP sets a time frame for a national convention. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
Signing up for Smart's broadband got even better. You can now bundle and get a free monthly prepaid mobile plan with your broadband service
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live from Monday, March 2nd. I am Marlene Cuellar. Tonight, flags are flying at half-mast at public buildings as the country mourns the deaths of 4 BDF officers. The wreckage of the helicopter was removed from the crash site in Gales Point Lagoon over the weekend, and experts are assessing the damage and cause of the crash. The remnants of the chopper have been taken to the Williamson hangar. The Prime Minister confirmed to News 5 that he will speak after an ongoing investigation is completed. That investigation teams are from the British, Mexican, U.S., and local counterparts. At this stage, the Honduran experts have indicated that there are no bullet holes on the chopper, as was widely speculated. Here is News 5's Andrea Polanco with this report.
The deaths of Major Adran Ramirez, Major Radford Beiser, Corporal Yasir Mendez, and Corporal Reynaldo Choco are under investigation. The wreckage of the crash was removed over the weekend. The ministry reports that 25 members of the Honduran naval team and a helicopter recovered the remnants of the crashed aircraft and transported it to the BDF air wing. The BDF soldiers were reportedly providing air surveillance support for the law enforcement agencies who intercepted the drug plane off the coastal road on Thursday morning, sometime between 4 and 4:30. The men's bodies were discovered until the following day. On Friday, the Minister of National Security said that it wasn't unusual for the men to be gone for hours without checking in.
Normally, when we have the air assistance from the helicopters, it is standard operating procedure for that helicopter to either stay on the ground with the supporting troops, or they would hover in the immediate area to see if they can discover or get any additional clues toward the landing of the plane. They would veer coastally if they can to see if there are any incoming boats, or even on land if we can see any vehicles that were escaping from the plane, especially since in this instance we did not arrest any persons concerning the plane that landed. It's not unusual, as I said, for the helicopter to hover in the area or even land on the ground on the site. It is equally not unusual for the helicopter to remain for the entire day at the site with the support of the composite team or other supporting members of the Belize Police Department or the BDF. The only time they would usually radio in is when there's a situation, and so when they did not radio in by evening yesterday, there was no need for alarm.
That reason for alarm came much later that evening, according to the minister. When nighttime approached, they realized the men were gone, and they reportedly launched a search that same evening. While best information to News 5 say that the search was launched until the following day, sometime between 8 and 9 on Friday morning, the ministry refuted that. Several accounts of the series of events that happened on Friday morning also allege that Commander Stephen Ortega didn't know about his men's involvement in the deadly mission and only found out that Friday morning. Sources at the BDF have cited concerns about this because they allege that the chain of command wasn't followed, among other breach of protocols. Here's how Ortega responded on Friday. Were you aware that this was a sanctioned mission? Did you personally sanction this mission for these guys to go out there?
Of course, it's a sanctioned mission. It is a sanctioned mission.
While there are many questions about what happened that day, the families of the men will now await the results of an investigation being carried out. According to the Ministry of National Security, Chief of Defense Staff Admiral John Borland is leading the investigative teams. He and his team are gathering the information to assimilate the facts surrounding the fatal helicopter crash. Borland will be assisted by lead investigator Captain Elton Bennett of the Belize Coast Guard and Colonel Azriel Loria, Deputy Commander of the BDF. The investigative team will be assisted by BATSUB, as well as the U.S. Military Liaison Office and the Mexican military. In addition, a team from Bell Flight Safety Group, who are specialized in the U-1H-1 helicopter, is expected to arrive in country to conduct an air accident investigation along with the Belize Department of Civil Aviation. The ministry says an initial report is expected to be produced within 3 days and a final report is expected in 14 days. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
The mother of deceased pilot Radford Biza said on Friday that the family didn't get an official word from the ministry nor the BDF that the pilot had perished. The family found out about his demise on social media, though at Friday's press conference last Friday, the ministry said that the immediate families were informed. Tonight, another family has come forward to say that they didn't know that their son was missing, nor that he was found dead until it showed up on Facebook. 72 hours later, the family says that they have not had an official word from the Belize Defense Force nor the ministry. Silvana Choco, mother of crewman Reynaldo Choco, says that the only information she received from any law enforcement body were a couple of words from a police officer, but that happened around 7 on Friday night. At the time, the country had already known of the air disaster. Here's the candid words from Silvana Choco, who resides in Big Falls, Toledo.
Can you tell us, how did you receive the information about the death of your son?
When through Facebook, I get the information.
When was this? When did you see this through Facebook?
Friday, I think 11:30.
So no one from the Department for National Security, from the BDF, had called or contacted you about this?
Nobody. We don't know the one shock I get when my son-in-law come and he check the Facebook and he tell me a helicopter crash. And then his wife, he girl, her said that, I hope that not my brother. And then I tell him, no man, I no one hear that because my son's birthday, Sunday. Yes. Yeah, Sunday.
And
but
so,
I no one hear that, I tell her.
And when you confirmed the information, how was it confirmed? Was it by the personnel, or was it by the BDF, or was it by any family or friends that it was confirmed that it was your son?
That my uncle come. He received the news. I don't know how he received it. Till Friday in the evening, like I think around 5 o'clock. In the evening, the Mr. Pop, Sergeant Pop. I saw how they call Mr. Pop. That he come drop the message. He tell me that sorry, we're gone on. Say your son passed away. Just like the only him come and nobody else.
So
until now, still I not see nobody.
So any information to how your son died? Do you know how your son died? What did he tell you happened?
No, he not tell me nothing. He just can't tell me that my son passed away. So, only that, he never tell me the how. But we don't hear it through the news and Facebook.
So no clarification so far.
No, we don't know how he dead. What at the end? Cause upon him dead.
And what do you think at this moment?
I want to find out why how my son dead and why they not report it. Why they not report it? Because I had them left from the camp 2 o'clock in the morning. And when he said in the news that 4.
Former Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Seti Elrington, upon leaving the UDP's National Party Council meeting on Saturday, was asked about his knowledge of the fatal helicopter crash that claimed the lives of 4 BDF airmen. While Elrington held that post briefly, he was quizzed about the protocols for the kind of flight mission that the officers were assigned to in respect of the drug plane landing on Thursday morning.
Minister, you've been Home Affairs Minister or Minister of National Security. Would you be able to say if those helicopters do have night vision capabilities?
Really, regretfully, I have no knowledge of the capacity of the helicopters. You know, I'm really sorry. I don't have any knowledge of anything about the helicopters. I'm just so saddened by the tragic incident. But I do know, as you know, that even if they have night vision capability and the like, helicopters do go down all the time, all over the world. So it's very difficult to ascertain cause or blame at this point in time.
What do you know, though, of protocols and procedures? Like, should this crew have been incommunicado for so long?
Again, I have no knowledge of it, except that I was told, and I haven't seen it directly myself, that in fact it went down and they found him.
As for the burial of the fallen soldiers, Choco will be laid to rest in Big Falls on Tuesday. Mendez will be buried on Wednesday in the village of Douglas. Pilots Ramirez will be buried on Thursday, while Radford will be laid to rest on Friday, both in Belize City. This afternoon, shots rang out on Police Street in Belize City. A gunman opened fire on Gregory Martinez, who was at his grandmother's house repairing a vehicle. Martinez fled into Mahogany Street but was pursued by the gunman. In the ensuing chaos, passengers in a dollar van were also injured. Martinez was rushed to the KHMH, where he died. Here is News 5's Isani Caetano with this report.
25-year-old Gregory Martinez is the latest victim of homicide in Belize City, following a shooting incident this afternoon in the Lake Independence area that saw two other persons receiving various degrees of gunshot injuries. According to relatives, Martinez was accosted by a lone gunman who opened fire in his direction. In attempting to escape the deadly spray of bullets, Greg reportedly ran through his grandmother's yard on Police Street, where he was repairing a vehicle along with an uncle. The shooter pursued him as he ran through an adjacent property onto Mahogany Street. Amid the chaos of gunshots, it is reported that a dollar van carrying passengers from the area was also struck by bullets, injuring two persons, including the driver of the vehicle and a female fare. There are several theories surrounding the deadly shooting, including the notion that it may have been retaliation for a recent incident involving another known street figure in the neighborhood. While his family refutes the idea that he was involved in that previous altercation, those close to him say that Martinez's murder may have been the result of envy. Friends of his told News 5 this afternoon that he had become a target since getting a vehicle several months ago. A criminal investigation into the murder is underway to determine a motive, notwithstanding the fact that no arrests have been made thus far. Of note is that Martinez lost a younger sibling a few months ago. 21-year-old Gian Martinez was killed along with three others in a deadly collision on the Philip Goldson Highway on July 28, 2019, while they were returning to Belize City. Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Caetano.
Two persons were killed and one injured on Saturday night in San Ignacio. The security officer at the Tia Kong supermarket, 32-year-old Shan Vasquez, and cashier, 32-year-old Marva Rivero, perished at the hospital in the town. The two victims had closed off the store for the night when they were met by the deadly fire. The store manager was also injured. One person has been detained. News 5's Hippolyta Novello reports.
A 911 call just after 9 o'clock on Saturday night led San Ignacio police to Tai Kong supermarket on Joseph Andrews Drive. Shots were fired minutes before their arrival and 3 persons were injured. 2, however, were gravely injured and were rushed to the San Ignacio Community Hospital, where they died a few minutes later while receiving treatment. The victims are 32-year-old security officer Shan Vasquez and 33-year-old Marva Rivero.
What the police know so far is that both persons were employee of a supermarket, the security guard being the security at the supermarket. They had recently closed the establishment just around 9 p.m. for which one Richard Rivera is also the manager, and he had his white in color Toyota Tacoma pickup parked outside.
As ACP Joseph Maivet explained, the couple, Richard and Marva, along with Vasquez, was walking away the front entrance of the store when the shooter pounced.
They were approached by a dark-skinned male person who fired upon the security, injuring him. And in the process, whilst Miss Marva was getting into the vehicle, she was also fired upon.
Vasquez was shot in his chest, arm, and grazed in his jaw. Marva received gunshot wounds to her breast, shoulder, jaw, and throat. For the Rivera and Vasquez families, the The circumstances leading to their loved one's demise has left them in shock and disbelief.
And I just feel my whole body like everything just fall out. I just feel like my whole body was just shaking, and I start to cry because first time like this something happened to me.
Did he ever mention anything that he had any beef, any enemies, anything that was troubling him recently?
No, he did not. Never. I asked the question, why? Why? What my son done to you? Why you kill him? I asked myself that question, why? Because I know Sean, my son is a loving person and he have a lot of respect.
We try to figure out, we don't know why somebody would have done something like that. Kamarva da me want. She's a very good person.
You believe that she was the target, or was it Richard or the security officer?
Right there, I don't have no idea. Maybe the security, I don't know. I don't know. But it can't be she, cause she don't know one person would get in with nobody. She always laugh, always have fun. I don't think that she didn't going for.
She ever told us she had any enemies, anybody who was after her or receiving any threats?
No, nobody, no threat, nothing. Everybody just she didn't just hang with. She just a person for hang with. She don't have no problem out there.
While a motive has not been established, investigators are ruling out that robbery was in the killer's mind.
One, because the deceased security guard was armed with a firearm, and that was found on him after the incident.
Sir, was this a case of robbery at the store as is being reported?
No, it was not. The store was already closed and they were a few feet away walking towards the vehicle when the incident occurred.
Do we know if the security guard, the deceased security guard, was a target or the main target in this incident?
We are not sure. We are trying to see where the investigation will lead to in relation to this.
After reviewing security footage and speaking to witnesses, investigators detained one man for the double murder.
The person that is detained, does he have any sort of connection to this store or to these persons, the deceased?
None to the store, but at this point in time, as I say, the investigation is in its early stages, so we are looking at several leads. A number of shots were fired at those two persons, and I believe a few shots were fired at the vehicle as the vehicle immediately sped off upon Miss Marva entering. Her husband immediately sped off. When he realized his wife was shot, then he transported her to the hospital.
The person detained is said to be a Belize Defense Force soldier. At the scene, police recovered 5 9mm expended shells. Reporting for News 5, Hipólito Novello.
Coming up, stevedores at the Port of Belize protest at the prospect of losing their jobs. There was a protest outside of the Port of Belize today. Stevedores, along with their union president and other union leaders, stood outside the gates to protest the news that raw sugar will start to move through the port of Big Creek. They say that the millers, ASR, BSI, and Santander are looking at more efficient and cost-effective ways to export their sugar. News 5 went out to the Port of Belize today to get both sides of the issue. Here's that story.
Over 150 stevedores staged a protest today at the Port of Belize Limited. They say that the reason for the protest is because they've learned that raw sugar will be moved through the Big Creek port instead of through the Port of Belize Limited. CW's president, Evan Mose-Hyde, explains the issue.
The very unpleasant reality that it appears that Santander and ASR, based on the Santander press conference last week, which only confirms hearsay and rumors that our members have been getting over the past 8 to 9 months, that we are going to have this multinational romance and consolidation where ASR puts its raw sugar through the Big Creek port, bypassing the Belize port, has severe financial implications for our members.
Hyde says that this decision will see 40 of 150 stevedores lose their jobs, and the next 110 will also see a reduction in their annual salaries by as much as 40%. Hyde told the media today that this may have an economic impact of $2 million, and the underprivileged families stand to lose the most.
We are looking at about almost a third of our stevedores will be unemployed because at least 40 of them only work sugar, raw sugar export. Whenever that is closed down, they are effectively out of a job. The other stevedores will be impacted significantly as well, to the tune of about 40% of their annual earnings. The number that we are putting out to the nation is about $2 million worth of earnings will be lost from our members per annum out of this community, out of Belize City, and in many instances out of the south side of Belize City, an area that can least afford that kind of economic impact. It will have a devastating impact on our members' financial stability. They want their fears remedied, their uncertainties cleared up, and they want an agreement that gives them some sense of comfort if it is that they are going to be made redundant. Those are the issues why they are standing up today, or technically speaking, standing down.
CW President Hyde laments that the Port of Belize hasn't engaged the stevedores on this issue and that they haven't tried to increase competitiveness to avoid these projected losses.
We have been engaging with no less than the highest office in the land, the Prime Minister, to have an intervention. Firstly, to see what can be done to get PBL to do what any normal corporation would do, that is compete. Compete for its own shareholders, but compete for its workforce. And in our view, they have failed to do that. The government has indicated that they are unable to compel PBL to do that. The big thing here is that even as we speak, even the Prime Minister is unable to say definitively when exactly ASR is going to stop. All indications are this is going to be the last season that they will export raw sugar out here. And very reliable information is that the number of boats that will come here will be halved. So this is going to be a disaster any way you look at it, a financial disaster.
Today, however, CEO of Port of Belize Limited, Arturo Vasquez, says that the raw sugar will continue to be moved through the Port of Belize. Vasquez points out, however, that the sugar companies are exploring more low-cost ways to export its sugar.
Exporting of raw sugar will not stop coming through the Port of Belize. My understanding is that BSI was doing a test run last year. But from my understanding, I think we have a ship starting in about a couple of weeks. My understanding is that it will continue as it has been going. But it has to be understood that BSI is looking, of course, at seeing how they can do these loading of these ships in a more economical way. I'm sure you all will understand that any corporation will be looking at trying to better their their operations. In 2017, Belize lost the preferential prices on sugar. Ever since then, BSI has to be as competitive as anybody else. Who is familiar with the loading of the ship of the sugar will know that it's a very antiquated system. It takes forever to be loaded. BSI over the years have been trying to work with us and the stevedores in seeing how we can perhaps better that loading, which has come to a point where it's no longer sustainable to do.
For the first time, the other staff members of the Port of Belize also joined the stevedores today in protest. Those employees represent mechanic, warehouse operations, and office staff. They say that the renegotiation of the CBA has stalled and the Port of Belize has not been forthcoming on the matter.
We are without a CBA from 2004. That's about 16 years. And we have engaged management over and over asking them to have a sit down with us to make the new CBA a reality. And so the CBA covers our employment, our salary, our mileage, uniforms, working environment. So that's what we're asking for management to engage us on.
Now, what has the quality of work been like for you guys without that CBA?
It's a bit rough because we have some guys who came on about 8 years ago, and in our CBA they have a thing called vacation grant. And under our union agreement, anybody who is employed for 5 years and more get a vacation grant. And that has been denied those members who came on 8 years ago. To me, it should never reach this stage because I believe just communication. If I am sending you my CBA for you to look on for over a year, then why is it that you as my manager can't come back and say, yes, we receive your CBA, let's have a sit down and chat about it.
Now, the stevedores are, just now you heard them, they're prepared to go the distance with this. What is it like for you guys? Are you guys prepared to stay out there?
It seems that way now. Because the thing is who feel the pains know what the result will be.
So what happens next? Will the stevedores be able to keep up this protest?
This is not a flirtation. This is not a one-night stand or a one-day stand. No, we are standing to get definitive resolutions. And we are not going to pack our bags until that has been achieved.
In a world where big money decisions like this are getting made, how does the small man fight it?
Like this.
Yes, sir.
Like this. Like this.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
As you heard, the CW President Evan Mose-Hyde says that the stevedores are prepared to go the distance to what he calls a fight for their survival. This morning, the stevedores were joined by other members of staff for the first time. While they waited outside the gates, other stevedores were inside, but no work was done. When asked how the port proceeds with the issue of stevedores not working, here's how CEO Arturo Vasquez responded.
How do you foresee that this is going to play out?
I don't know actually. The fact that the stevedores are not offloading the ships right now, that's an illegal strike. So we are about to address that with the port commissioner and the labor commissioner right now.
We understand that labor officers came in.
Yeah, well, the situation now is that the stevedores should give 21 days notice before they strike. Since 9 o'clock this morning, no containers has moved. So as far as we're concerned, this is an illegal strike.
And so what happens in such cases?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to contact the agents and see whether they want to perhaps dismiss the work or not. We don't know. But that's developing as we speak right now.
This afternoon, the National Trade Union Congress of Belize issued a statement to say it is in solidarity with the stevedores who stand to lose their jobs and those who will lose income due to the changes. The NTUCB says it is holding the Port of Belize responsible for the current situation and encourages members of the CWU and affected employees of the Port of Belize to hold firm on their position and to demand their entitlements. It also expresses concern that the proposed collective bargaining agreement is yet to be finalized. The General Council of the National Trade Union Congress of Belize met on Saturday, and out of that special meeting came a number of demands from the umbrella organization. Following that meeting, NTUCB President Marvin Mora told Creme News that a plan of action has been devised in the wake of the massive demonstration held by the unions on March 20th. According to Mora, the meeting had the representation of all union leaders that fall under the NTUCB.
We had to call a special meeting with our General Council and some of the presidents who were not part of the General Council so that we have a good cross-section of all the unions. Well, as you know, after our demonstration, we had to put together a plan of action. That plan of action obviously also has to take into consideration some of the points that were raised by the Prime Minister in the meeting that he had with the lower body of the Congress, which is the Executive Committee, where he presented his points on the different items that we had demanded that should be addressed before elections, right, are called. So today was a good day because in this specific meeting, we look at concrete plans and specific demands within those very same contexts, right, that we want to ensure that are addressed properly and that are addressed in a manner that is effective and not just in a manner that would be on the surface. We want to ensure that they are addressed in a manner that whenever we look at the issue, we can safely say that we can move off because it has already been addressed properly.
The deaths of the BDF officer is evoking strong sentiments everywhere. The People's United Party is critical of the handling of the worst air disaster that claimed the lives of Major Adran Ramirez, Major Radford Baiza, Corporal Yasser Mendez, and Corporal Reynaldo Chaco. The PUP notes that the inaction by government, coupled with the lack of credible answers from the Ministry of National Security in the face of what is now widely believed to be a cover-up, is adding injury to the reputation of the fallen heroes. The party says it joins in the condemnation of the present attitude of the Ministry of National Security in the face of this national tragedy. The PUP says that it demands a comprehensive and fully independent investigation, suggesting the inclusion of CARICOM, specifically the Jamaican Air Wing. After the break, the UDP meets in National Party Council and sets a date for the National Convention. The United Democratic Party is calling out its supporters to head to Belmopan on Thursday's House meeting, which will see the budget presentation for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. The PUP will also be moving a motion of no confidence against the government. So the show of supporters is expected to signal that the UDP is alive following a most turbulent period. On Saturday, its National Party Council met to set the date for another leadership convention following the short-lived election of John Saldivar that lasted as much as 72 hours. Here is Isani Caetano with this report.
The United Democratic Party returned to the drawing board this weekend in a meeting of the National Party Council to set a timeline for a subsequent leadership convention. The UDP, following the February 9th convention, which saw John Saldivar trounce Patrick Faber to become the new leader-elect, is forced to seek another front-runner in the wake of Saldivar's abrupt resignation a few days later.
No, the meeting was not extended. The National Party Council meeting was fairly short. As I had indicated before, I didn't even see the need to have one just to set dates, but we had one. The constitution of the party says that once we declare that we are in an emergency situation today, then within 35 days, or at least 35 days must pass before we have a convention. That puts us at April 5th. So on April 5th, we will have a convention, and the persons who are interested from the National Assembly who want to put in their names for the leader, they have up until March 26th to do so. That's all that was officially decided here today.
Despite suffering an embarrassing defeat 3 weeks ago, former Deputy Leader Patrick Faber is still very much a factor in the leadership of the United Democratic Party going forward. Support for the colored area representative from his constituents on Saturday was quite apparent.
There's been a long period of people not being certain of what is happening, and for me it's dragging on. Of course, I think for all of us it's dragging on. And so people felt they needed to express, of course, the National Party Council is not an ultimate decision-making body. The only entity that really can decide on the leadership of the party is the National Convention. But this is a step higher up than a regular membership in the party, so to speak. And so a group of my supporters decided that they wanted to come to say this morning, there's nothing wrong, this is the home of the UDP. They have come home to this party, this party's home, official home, to say just what they're feeling. And I am positive that there are many, many more supporters of this party who feel this way.
Outgoing Port Loyola area representative Anthony Boots Martinez was among those in attendance. When questioned about the urgency of choosing a new leader and the fact that the party cannot afford to continue hemorrhaging in the manner in which it has, here's how he responded.
The UDP cannot afford another 35 days of fighting over who going to lead, and the fight for a delegate there, fight for a delegate there, and I take you out of that. They can't afford that. That's hemorrhaging.
So that who wanted in the next 35 days? As opposed to who wanted at the end of the day, who wanted the party's constitution mandates that the leader, the new leader, is the leader-elect. So who wanted, they don't like we are the leadership?
But it's not a desirable state of affairs.
Well, I am certain, but it is what it is, because they have certain processes in the party that must go on.
Pigstock area representative Wilfred Seddy Elrington, whose support in the last leadership race was never divulged, was back at it again on Saturday.
What you call hemorrhaging is in what I call natural democratic interaction. I have this interaction with my people all the time. Explain to them, let them know what is happening. This is democracy.
Is it a disrespect to you that in all these names being put out there, and many of them neophytes, novices, your name has never been called?
Well, you know, Jules, if I had an interest in leading, I would have put my name in. But I don't want to put my name in, largely because I am now a senior citizen. I have spent my time, I have been in politics actively since 1964. I don't think there's a person in the country apart from Finnegan who has that kind of longevity.
Going back to the Faber factor, despite having lost the last convention, the defeated leadership candidate still seems to be the best option for the party to field ahead of the upcoming general elections. Here's his take on what has happened since.
The truth of the matter is that for me, it would be better for the masses of this party, even if the 570 delegates, even if it is them, for them to make that determination as opposed to this party in closed doors try to push something down the throats of the party. And so while
you lost by 150, the vote count. You lost by 150. I'm saying, okay, the list was rigged. Great. If the list was rigged. But I'm saying you can't account for that discrepancy.
You see, Jules, you have a clear agenda in asking that question. I have said to you, you could go north to south, east to west, and you will find out that Patrick Faber is loved.
That's right.
I am in a position that is a very difficult position. Yes, there are strong feelings, but all in all, what is indisputable is that my candidacy and my potential leadership of this party offers something that this party needs at this time.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isana Cayetano.
There's a list in circulation from the Social Security Board naming at least 43 businesses that are in arrears to the Social Security Board, in thousands of dollars. The list contains those companies that owe more than $5,000 each, but the period involved is not ascertained. When combined, the 43 businesses who have not paid contributions on behalf of their employees owe over $750,000, racking up a total of $758,188 in arrears. At least 9 companies owe more than $20,000 each. The biggest amount cited is by the National Transport Service, which owes SSB $170,270. This followed by J&B's Security Service, which owes $68,402, and MSG Construction, which has not paid $64,552 in contributions. The others owe between $5,000 to $19,000. The SSB is reaching out to the employers to pay up their arrears. Employees are left exposed when employers withhold their contributions and don't pay it into the SSB, which means that the employees won't be able to get benefits. 5 persons, including 3 children, are left displaced after an electrical iron was left on at their house at the corner of Jane Usher Boulevard and Carl Thompson Street in the Port Loyola area of Belize City. The iron overheated and triggered a fire that burnt down the house shortly after 11 this morning. A neighbor called one of the occupants and informed them that the house was on fire, and the firefighters were summoned to the scene. But the house was already engulfed by the time they arrived. Call center agent at Transparent BPO, Sherry Westby, who occupied the house, told News 5 that while she does not remember leaving on the iron, she admits that the house had an electrical fault.
Well, I recall leaving this morning about 6:45 before I was ironing, but to be honest, I'm not sure if I unplugged the iron. But someone was at the house, and when I asked, he told me that they told me that they unplugged the surge that the iron connects to. So if the surge is unplugged, then that means the iron would not be plugged in. I'm not sure, but I would say electrical problem, because one day I was in there and the bulb blew. All I did was replace the bulb, and that solved the problem. So I never looked into it. I ignored it, but I would think it was electrical problem.
Fire victim Westby says the setback will affect her and her 3 children significantly because she was not paying any rent, and while she's staying with a relative now, she will eventually have to find a way to pick up the pieces.
I was given the house to stay in, and I don't pay rent, but I was just living in the house for a period of time, so.
Now this has displaced you and all your children. Where are you staying now?
Well, I'm getting help from my uncle for the meanwhile until I can get back on my feet and see what I can do.
You lost everything?
Everything, everything, the whole house totally destroyed.
Can you put a dollar figure on your losses?
I would not be able to put a figure. I need to sit, calculate, and figure out everything that was in there, the cost. I'm not sure what the value is for everything.
How do you pick up the pieces now?
Well, I'll start slow. First, try take the time to try organize something. In the meanwhile, I get a roof over my head from my uncle, a room, so that would be the start of it, and I move slow from there.
The children are aged 4, 6, and 11 years old. The owner of the building is Alric Moody of Sand Hill Village. There's much more news after the break, so stay tuned. So far, we have reported on 2 murders. There was also a slew of stabbings and shootings over the weekend. Police are looking for 2 suspects after Ronnie Pott was stabbed in the back on Lizarraga Avenue around 7 o'clock on Saturday night. Deputy Head of the National Crimes Investigation Branch, Senior Superintendent of Police Gilberto Romero, told reporters that police are looking for the suspects.
Initial investigation revealed that Ronnie Pott was walking on Lizarraga Avenue when he was approached by 2 male persons who were in a vehicle. One of the male persons was armed with a knife while the other was armed with a firearm. They proceeded to attack him, and thereafter he was stabbed by one of the male persons. He remains at the KHMH in a stable condition.
Sir, did Pott give police any sort of information as to his attacker's identity?
Yes, he provided police with certain information, and an investigation is being conducted to determine who these 2 persons are.
There was a hit-and-run traffic accident on Sunday evening on the Hummingbird Highway in Belmopan, and it left 3 persons injured. The driver of the vehicle fled the scene, and police are looking for him. ACP Joseph Maived shared the details at today's police press briefing in Belmopan.
Sometime shortly after 5:30 p.m., Belmopan police was called to an area on the Hummingbird Highway in the vicinity of the FFB Stadium, where upon their arrival they observed a beige in color Toyota Tacoma overturned on the highway, and they also observed 3 persons with injuries, and those persons being one Rafael Herrera, 36 years, of a Belmopan address, Hugo Marroquin, 56 years, also of a Belmopan address, and Ruperto Herrera, 66 years, also of a Belmopan address. What was reported to the police is that the vehicle was northbound, being driven by one Louis Matu, who is wanted by police at this time. It is apparent that he was northbound and he lost control of the vehicle in that area, and in order not to run into a big drain that was on the side, he swerved back to the left, which caused the vehicle to overturn. He then fled the scene and is being sought by police in relation to this investigation, which we do believe that alcohol was a contributing factor.
Do we know if Matud has any relations to the persons that received injury in the accident?
No, not at this time. We do not know.
But they were traveling together?
Yes, we do know that two of those persons were in the pan of the pickup and they were flung from the vehicle when it overturned.
Coming up after the break, Child Stimulation Month is here. Hug me, listen to me, read with me, help me grow. That's the message from the children. March is celebrated annually as Child Stimulation Month, and there is an entire calendar of events that commence today with a parade of kindergarten students, their parents, and their teachers through the streets of Belize City. This year has a new theme, and the representative for the Ministry of Education's Early Childhood Education shares with us the plans for the next few weeks leading up to the Festival of Arts.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
The theme this year is Hug Me, Listen to Me, Read with Me, Help Me Grow. Those are all characteristics that we want to develop in our students at the early childhood area. We want to prepare our students for readiness for the primary school. So we want to develop them cognitively. We want to develop their social skills so that they are ready, that when they enter primary school, they can build on the foundational knowledge that they get at the preschool level.
Now, every year it's an adventure when Child Stimulation Month comes around because it's the entire month and it's not only the march. Can you speak to some of the other activities?
Okay, it's not only the march. We have on Thursday, we have the storytelling competition. That competition, we have representatives, teachers from throughout the country, and they will be participating in a storytelling competition. They will tell stories. Stories are a very important part of early childhood as we promote play strategy, we promote oral language development. From that, we have Festival of Arts. For the Belize district, the Festival of Arts will be the 16th to the 19th of March. It will be at the Belize Elementary Auditorium. And so the children will be participating in drama, music, and dance.
The President of the Senate, Darrell Bradley, was in Mexico City for the 38th Ordinary Meeting of Presiding Officers of National Parliaments of Central America and the Caribbean Basin, known as FOPREL. At the event on Friday, the presidency from Panama's legislative body was handed over to Mexico's Senate. The meeting discussed a wide range of issues, including resolutions relating to institutional strengthening and budgetary issues, the 200th anniversary of the independence of Central America, the framework of migration, gender, and health issues. Also present were representatives from Central America and the Dominican Republic. Up next, the weekend of sports with James Adderley.
Making
Sports Monday is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Good evening, I'm James Adderley. Welcome to Sports Monday. The Belmopan First Division football competition continues to command attention, so we take you to the Isidoro Beaton Stadium for the clash between Roaring Creek United and Frank's Eddie Cottontree on Saturday. Roaring Creek gets the chance for the early goal when Edwin Serrano tries to hook up with Johnny Banner, who fails to make the connection. Roaring Creek continues to press. Wallace Brian Williams sends this ball into the box. Franks Eddie's Edwin Flores heads it to Christian Vidal, who hits the crossbar. Franks Eddie cutting tree amongst this offense when Ronald Cruz sends this ball long, trying to give Jonathan Young an attempt at goal, but he fouls goalkeeper Jose Hernandez, who came out to make the stop. Franks Eddie comes back. Jonathan Young sets up Alfonso Ardinet, whose left foot floater beats Hernandez, but not the crossbar, so Roaring Creek gets busy. Wallace Williams finds Ajani Bana, whose initial slice at goal is thwarted by goalkeeper Gonzalez, but the ball returns to Bana, who misses an open goal. In reply, Franks Eddie Cotton Tree goes to this long-distance set piece that forces the United keeper into a punch-out to Angel Ramos, whose clearance bounces off the head of Young to end the effort. Just before the half expires, Mario Valencia sets table for Bana, who simply batches an open look at goal. Immediately into second half play, Williams sets table for Bana, who comes up short of the connection. On this Roaring Creek press, Mario Valencia mounts this individual effort that is only denied by the crossbar. Some 10 minutes in, Kyle Thomas sends this ground pass into the box that chips off Edwin Daniel Flores to Ajani Bana, and he makes amends to give Roaring Creek the 1-0 lead. Make it 2-0 when Kyle Thomas's perfect pass off this set piece finds Christopher Moro, whose header is a beauty. Now watch clever Leonel Ayala work his way through heavy traffic to unleash a left foot shot that goalkeeper Jose Hernandez just could only look at as Franks Eddie makes it a 2-1 ball game. However, Roaring Creek's response is immediate. Kyle Thomas knows who to go to, so he sends Christian Vidal on the run, and he delivers a well-placed right foot that gives Roaring Creek United 3-1, big W. So stay tuned. Now let's check in on the National Amateur Women's Football Tournament as San Pedro Invaders was hosted by Belize Defense Force inside the MCC grounds on Saturday. Very early in the ball game, Emma Lopez and Cynthia Salazar battled for possession, but goalkeeper normally of the San Pedro team comes out of her goal in a defensive mode. Talk about living dangerously. Dianera in the San Pedro defense loses possession, giving the ball to Shania Nazario, who just doesn't get enough punch on it to get it past Miss Gomez in goal. Again, it's the BDF on the march. Shayama Cunha goes for the shot that is handled by the San Pedro keeper. The BDF comes back with Naomi Gomez going it alone to let loose a power shot that goes a bit high. It gets rough between the San Pedro captain Nadine Manzero and Naomi Gamboa, but it's Naomi Gomez who takes the shot at goal that sees normally Gomez come up with a tough save. Cunha sets up Salazar and Cynthia launches only to see the ball sail over the crossbar. In second half action, Nataki Alvarez displays her long-distance shot, but it doesn't bother the San Pedro keeper. Janelle Pott gets a chance to open the scoreboard, but hits the side netting. Nataki Alvarez tries for the long distance, but the shot veers outside the sticks. Alvarez in traffic sets table for Salazar, who gives Gomez an easy save. As the ball game continues, it's Cunha off the set piece, but again Gomez handles with a push over the bar. At the 81st minute, the BDF break through. Naomi Gamboa directs the corner kick into the box. Alvarez gets the first touch. The ball bounces to Cynthia Salazar, and she gets the goal with a reverse heel. BDF takes the 1-0 victory. In other results, Cayo Jimas blank Santa Elena Strikers on 4 goals from Daisy Pais in a 6-0 finish. Toledo Divas Burnstown Creek United Hyper Joel's 1-0. Joel Fury, led by Jada Brown's 4 goals, handed Dangriga Warriors a 9-1 blast. Verdes Rebels blanked Gladiators 3-0, while Romberas edged Altitude Chicks 1-0. In basketball news, Clinton Polo Lightburn continues his romance with the sport of basketball as his team Future Shock faced off against 501 Gators at the SJC gym yesterday in the Under-17 Ahmadiyya tournament. Shane Pratt goes to the hoop for the reverse lay for 2 of his 12 points for Future Shock. Ahmad Smith was the high scorer for the Gators with 9 points, but the high man for this ball game was Shane Pratt of Future Shock, who shot for 13 points. Future Shock took the win in a 44-39 final score. In other results, ABS Hard Rock got over Delfines 53-38. Spalding Boys won 38-36. Delfines came back to beat Ladyville Bad Boys 34-21, and Savage Storm got the edge over BHS Rams in a 48-42 final score. The action resumes this weekend. Come out and support the youth. They need your help too. Finally, folks, the La Ruta Maya 2020 edition kicks off this Friday and extends on to Monday. Hey, you just got to stay tuned. It's a big and wondrous tournament. We say good luck. Hey, folks, that's our show for today. We will be back next week, but it will be on Tuesday. Hope you will join us then. That's it. Ja overall. I'm James Adderley.
Sports Monday was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us, and from all of us here at News 5, good night.